Welcome back to Flashpoint. Lawmakers in Raleigh currently drawing new congressional and legislative district maps. Politically, North Carolina is a swing state with neither major party having a large advantage, but new congressional district maps proposed by Republican lawmakers would give the GOP an 11-3 advantage in U.S. House seats. Princeton University has developed an online tool to help voters see whether state lawmakers are drawing fair maps. According to their tool, the maps North Carolina lawmakers have drawn so far in recent weeks have gotten plenty of Fs. Joining us now on Flashpoint, former Union County GOP Chair Dan Barry. Mr. Barry, nice to have you on.
Thanks, Ben. It's good to be with you.
Let's talk redistricting first. You know, it's your colleagues are being criticized, which I think is to be somewhat expected in a situation like this. But we've been through this time and time again. We talk about it on Flashpoint all the time about the right way, the fair way to draw these district lines. And I'm not sure if anybody anywhere will ever be happy with these. But our criticisms right now, considering that I believe that North Carolina is a fairly purple state, do you think that the arguments against your GOP colleagues are fair arguments?
No, I think what we're hearing from my counterpoints on the left is they're not satisfied until they have a majority. And what we have in North Carolina is a legislative process, which makes it a political process by law. And those in the General Assembly draw maps. And of course, in North Carolina, we've had a history of litigation around that. What's interesting is to watch this process in a completely open and transparent fashion where the map drawers are using computers online and everybody can watch what's going on, and yet they're still not satisfied. What's interesting to me, and I'm a junkie on maps, Ben, you and I have been talking about this since I've come on your show, is that as we've seen the urbanization of the state, I expected to actually see a strong Republican seat in Mecklenburg and in Wake County. And that didn't happen. So we have some competitive Republican seats in the North Carolina General Assembly in Mecklenburg County. John Bradford, of course, is there. There's a new seat on the South if these maps hold. And it's going to be interesting to see what that happens. I was hopeful for good governance that Mecklenburg County would, and the Democrats in Mecklenburg County would work with the General Assembly to get another Republican member because they need a seat at the table and a voice. Yeah,
and you make a good point that, like the process or not, it has been more transparent than it has been in years past. You mentioned the state legislative districts and how they're being drawn. Let's talk about the U.S. House districts. We got 14 seats. What do you think is a fair distribution of how the parties break down among those 14 seats?
Well, that's a tough call. And I know where you're going with this. When the North Carolina Supreme Court race was won by 400 and something votes, some would argue that we're a 50-50 state. We're really not. We're probably a 65-35 state because you got to go into each district and look at county commission races, sheriff's races. The sheriffs are the most powerful people in every county, and then begin to look at how that is spread across the state. So it's a little bit different. What's interesting to me in the two maps that I'm paying attention to is the new 13th district, which let's just call that Cleveland County and Gaston County, and the new 4th district, which is out in Cumberland and Johnson County. And what's really going on under the surface at the way the map drawers are carving this up. The other one that I'll point out is what you and I know as the 11th district, which is the mountains, Madison Cawthorn's district. One of these maps, frankly, makes that a competitive seat. That where the Democrats have a shot at picking that seat off if they really mounted a formidable campaign. But Madison's got Madison Cawthorn, Representative Cawthorn's got a stronghold on that seat.
I'm going to talk about just briefly Anson County. We talked to Chuck Todd last week because NBC News is highlighting Anson County over the next year, one of a few counties that they're sort of highlighting on a national level. because it's sort of it could be a bellwether. It could sort of upend what we think we know about politics. You have a strong rural African American voter bloc there that you don't see in some other places that tends to be more religious, also tends to be lean, at least more conservative. You think that's good that we have places like Charlotte's always going to be liberal, always going to be, not conservative. Then there's going to be places that always, I think, places like Anson that keeps us on our toes and makes us not quite sure what's going to happen.
Well, what's interesting, Ben, you asked that question and talk about Anson. Go one county over to Robeson County, and we flipped the county this last election. And so there's that 74 corridor going to the beach is transforming around us. What you didn't mention when we talk about Anson County is poverty.
Yep.
If you've ever been to Wadesboro, if you haven't, you need to do it. It is a wonderful old Southern community where the textile business packed up and left. Rampant unemployment. The largest employer in the county is a state prison, followed by the school district. It is a challenging environment. And so as folks reach out and look to begin to see or desire change in their governance to create more economic opportunity by recruiting business, we're seeing that county commission and elected officials moving from hard Ds to now they're electing unaffiliated and independents. And hopefully we'll see some Republicans get elected there. There's a lot happening. I'm watching it as it bleeds into Union County. So you and I have had a number of conversations about Mecklenburg bleeding over into the northwestern corner of Union County, Indian Trail and Weddington. We're also seeing a pushback coming in from Anson County. I'm watching the municipal races from Monroe to Gastonia, from Waxhaw to Huntersville. There's kind of four issues that keep popping up that the voters are talking about all the time. Public safety. They're tired of the rampant violence, murder, and drug problems and challenges that we have, followed very closely by transportation. And you and I have had a conversation. Joel Ford was on the show with us when we did it. We need a serious conversation with the General Assembly in the urban core and the feeder areas about how to get employees to employers or labor to manufacturing, however we want to define that, in an efficient way. And when it takes you an hour and a half to get from Wadesboro to Charlotte to go to work, those folks can't get there. And gas prices $100 a tank full. We got to figure that out, and we need to figure it out in a hurry.
All right. Dan Barry, joining us from Union County as always. Mr. Barry, thank you as always. We appreciate it.
Ben, thank you.
All right, take care, my friend.